Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host,
Heather Baker.
Yeah, and we are here speaking with Serge and the Swell. And we have two members right now. We've got Aaron Cabbage. We've got Adam Levy. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah. I say members with a question mark because Serge and the Swell is such an interesting project. And maybe as way of introduction, Aaron, will ask you to talk about it because it's a little bit solo. It's a little bit all comers. Serge and the Swell is a perfect name for it, but I'll ask you to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Surge and the Swell obviously has kind of a water theme to it. I've grown up around water. I've always been around water, and it's wanted something that kind of connotated progression and growth, not only for myself and music, but also just from a collaboration perspective. And so so kind of opted for a band name versus just my own name, because I mean so much of the there's so much other talent and effort that goes into these songs. It's just, I bring a demo and some lyrics, and then the magic happens. So yeah, it was nicer to have something that was more inclusive. And yeah, that's kind of where I landed on the name. Also, I've been a fan of you may know of Bahamas, Affy Jervinen from Canada, and he kind of does a similar thing. Just it's him, and kind of collaborates and brings in musicians and things. So yeah,
it's great. And even to go back further than that, what drew you to decide to do this now or recently?
Yeah, good question. I had some when I moved to Minnesota, and one of the bandmates, Steve Wold, who plays here, was my first friend in the Twin Cities. And Steve's our multi-instrumentalist, playing keys and dobro and other things. But Steve was the first person I met, and we started, playing some acoustic coffee shop gigs. And I wouldn't say I was purely limited to top 40 radio in Indiana, but my horizons weren't quite as broad. And Steve introduced me to a lot of music, and then I just took kind of parenting and community stuff, and kind of took over for a number of years, and I didn't really write or play that much. And then about 6-7 years ago, I had some kind of life event changes and started putting the guitars on the walls and much more close and accessible, to be able to play, form of therapy, if you will, I guess. And then started writing some songs, and I guess it was a couple of years ago now, reached out to Adam. I think we had opened maybe briefly for you guys back in a long time ago at the Fine Line, I think, with Hookers and Blow at the time, Sunshine Committee. And so I knew of Adam, and I was a fan of the music, of his music and songwriting, and I just really wanted somebody who would kind of take my demos and really kind of prove them out and tear them apart for me, and from a coaching perspective. And Adam agreed, and then connected me up with Isaac and Noah to start putting some real to put the MIDI drum tracks to a beautiful death, and put some real bass and drums on it.
That's kind of one of my questions. Is you've got some all-stars that you're playing with, and maybe you'd say a few words about them, and maybe we'll give Adam a chance to say something too. But when is it more of a collaboration? How do you all work together?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it is. When I brought the first demos, I think I had 5-6 demos in a small EP last year, and that my intention was just to get some music out into the universe and have something that friends and family could listen to. I brought those demos, with my own, from my DAWs at home, my own reverb on them, and just little things that it's like going into the workshop. I had painted a lot of it already. And I think that was a little more limiting, I think, with what the other musicians were able to do. So I think this time around, we tried to bring more of a blank canvas. I wasn't so focused as much on, all the other stuff in the demos, and really just seeing what, being in a group of all-stars, it just made sense to bring them more bare and let magic happen. So get Adam, of course, who's graciously agreed to not only help me with songwriting, but play with the album release here. And then Matthew Kirkwold, who also will be playing as a phenomenal producer and guitar player in the cities here, and young Isaac Levy, as he was introduced to me by Adam when I initially met him. Young Isaac agreed to play drums or bass or guitar or whatever I needed for the gig. So, which he can do all of that. So we may just all sit at some point and let Isaac just kind of bounce from instrument to instrument. Also got Katie Garrity. I'd done the initial song called Love 4000. I had done the initial recording with someone I found out in California, and I was really looking for somebody that would kind of match up with my voice similarly, and Katie was recommended from the guys, and Katie's been wonderful, not only as a singing partner but also as a vocal coach. And then Sarah Souter, who runs Dissonance in the cities here, and is another friend. You've connected me with a lot of people here, so I just felt good when I was able to connect, when I was able to introduce Sarah and Katie for the first time. That was like, yay, now I'm making musical connections. So trying to do the same thing. So we've also got Josh Kaplan, who's drumming with us on Saturday, and Steve Wold, who I mentioned before, Isaac Levy on bass, and I think that completes the gamut. Do we have enough people on stage for?
No. That's a small stage. I'm already thinking, where am I going to stand? Aaron is, I think he's grossly overcredited his players on this project. I met Aaron a couple of years ago in a songwriting class, and I was just struck by his sincerity and interest. You know, like he was very, there was something about him that I felt like this is somebody who really wants to do this. Oftentimes you have people that take a songwriting class and it's sort of like a hobby, or, you know, just sort of something they want to explore in themselves. And then there's people who, you know, he didn't approach me right away and say, I want to make a record. It was more like, kind of want to get back into this. And that, as it turned out, he had a lot of material and things. He mentioned these recordings, which are pretty much full-fledged, you know, he calls them demos, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's like they're fully fleshed songs. And Noah and Isaac and I just like played our parts, and you know, the songs were easy to kind of develop parts for. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to work with him. The other reason is that, you know, anybody that works or knows Aaron knows that he's just like this super beatific personality. Like, we all have a few people in our lives who will do anything for you. Like, you just know that. I don't have to ask Aaron, but I know he's the kind of guy that is just completely loyal and a really wonderful friend. So I think that's one of the reasons why this has been so enduring, you know, not just the good music, but that he's a really decent human being on top of all of that.
Now I'm getting
It's all true, dude.
But I love that. I'm going to attribute it to the Minnesota music community, that you all kind of surround and support each other. Like Adam saw that in you and Spark, and then you gave it to Sarah and Katie. Is there any other sort of something Minnesota that in some of your songs I can hear a lot, like the Here, I hear a little Jayhawky sound. I don't know if I just want that to be there, but it has, if it's the harmonica or what, but I don't know if that, how else it's influenced your music, I guess.
Yeah, you know, I think the first week or two when I moved to Minnesota in '98, It was around 98. I was a Semisonic fan in Indiana, and I think I had seen him on Letterman. I'm trying to figure out the timing here, but I had seen him on. I feel like I saw John Munson walk through the airport like a couple of weeks. I was picking up my brother at the airport on his way back from a trip. I was living in his basement and still looking for work up here, but I had seen him in the airport coming back from somewhere, and I was like, well, Minnesota's probably a pretty cool place, you know, if I just seeing people around town. But no, it's unavoidable. I mean, I think moving up here and just being introduced to just honestly, I think first introduction to Jayhawks was one of the city samplers that my sister-in-law had given me, probably 93, 94. And then, but yes, you know, Honey Dogs, Gear Daddies, Jayhawks, Golden Smog, some of the local heritage there. Yeah, I think this upper Midwest kind of vibe, you know, it definitely, there was something that drew it to me. I listened to a lot of 8-tracks in my granddad's truck in Kentucky and then Texas. And I think there's just this, it's hard to describe, but just that not quite, it's country, but you know, just that something that it was country, but it had the lyrics. I think the way the lyrics were pieced together, I think spoke more to me, and kind of tapping into feelings versus just, you know, very explicit things that sometimes comes with country. So I think that emotionality is something I was really drawn to with this kind of upper Midwest music scene.
It's funny you should say that, because I noticed what I found a striking difference between the Love 4000 felt like it was very much about your experience, about the experience of a long distance relationship. And then the Offering is much more about the feelings of things, about kind of learning acceptance. It felt like less of a one person story and more of a story that people can, that every person experience. And I don't know again, if that's me reading in, or if that's, you know, in the last 2 years, we all think we've had the same experience, or bring it in, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the, at least, you know, not to sound too tactical, but I think from a songwriting goal for myself is to, I think one of the things that Adam does really well is the songs are universal in a way. And that would be one of my goals, to try to write, you know, I think initially when people start, you kind of write about yourself and what you're experiencing. It's just natural, because that's how we use music to deal with things. But I think one of the goals would be to try to write more universal or universal songs that somebody on their way to work. There's a song called Hard Work, and it's somebody on their way to work at 5 a.m. at a job that they really don't like, in a time when they're you know, maybe getting slammed because there aren't enough wait staff, you know, because we're just coming out of a pandemic. You know, just a song that maybe somebody like that might hear and just acknowledge kind of what they're going through. So that was, one of the goals of this, was to try to write songs that were more universal.
I like that song. It's really quite an upbeat song, given lyrics like, sometimes I feel like crying, it's hard to motivate.
Yeah, my brother heard it and he's like, "This is great, but it's really happy. The lyrics are kind of, it shouldn't the music should be more sad." And I'm like, that was kind of the idea. I won't mention which brother or names, but that was kind of the idea, is to juxtapose the challenge with kind of the upbeat piece of it. I think the original recording that I had for that was definitely a little more, I guess, for lack of a better word, kind of a Jack Johnson-y, vibe. And that was the one where, Adam kind of does a producer review of them before we take them to the studio. And that was one of the ones that worked out really well in terms of, I think it was Jorge Ben and a couple of other, songs you sent to me. He's like, "I like where you're going here, but kind of maybe listen to a couple of these and, kind of, and then we'll maybe scrap the acoustic stuff and just kind of open it up to the band to really kind of get into this kind of funk with it. Let them do what they do best." So yeah, that was just an example of kind of the collaboration.
Yeah, I like how it has that Caribbean kind of dancey, the water theme, just with the vibe that the Hard Work song has too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was one song, Gravity Boots was a song that, again, it can be, it's visualizing an astronaut and the ship's turned upside down, but the gravity boots are still attached, and you're trying to kind of get used to the new orientation. And that could be a kind of a personal experience, or just the whole pandemic situation and that we were dealing with. But the original version of that had this kind of reggae halftime rock steady thing every after almost in every turnaround, after every chorus, and then it kind of morphed into something else. But at the end, Noah and Isaac, knowing that was in there, just started kind of playing with the reggae thing at the very end. And I think there was some tug of war, but we ended up leaving that in there just for fun.
I was gonna say, I want to hear about How Deep, because I listened to it and then I watched a little video of you playing on a beach somewhere, and just even the like sun beaming down with the water and the wind, it really like gave more life to the song and made me hone in more on the lyrics. And then I was like, whoa, I love the I'm a sailor lost in your tide. I want to know how deep I will let you bring me, I believe that is.
Yeah, pull me. Yeah.
Or sorry, pull me,
no,
sorry.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
good.
Bring me is kind of cool too. That has another connotation to it. Or you should change that. It's almost more powerful.
No. I
Yeah.
like the way you did it.
I like it. So no, that one was my brother turned 50 last year, and I had the first verse and chorus of that one, and I brought in just a small guitar to just try to songwrite while I was traveling. I met him down in Florida for a couple of days. He's a crazy hardcore fisherman, and so we met down there, and it was the mornings there were really peaceful. That was in Sanibel Island in Florida, and so mornings were really peaceful. There was that kind of patch of greenery there, and the way the sun would come up, and beaches were pretty empty at the time, and it was just a really peaceful place. And as I was sitting there playing, I thought back to growing up in Southeast Texas and fishing in the Gulf of Mexico, and in a boat that was a fine boat, but it was really too small to be out there sometimes. And my dad, some interesting decision making one day with a storm kind of rolling in, and we spent about an hour in pretty steep swells, smacking the bottoms of them, going over the top, and watching boats try to shoot through the jetties, taking turns. And it was a little sketchy, but it was a memory. And that kind of turning that into, it's a rocky relationship or a job situation or something where you're kind of putting up with challenges, and you're used to a certain level of punishment, for lack of a better word, until you kind of finally decide that you're gonna let go of that thing. And so those kind of came in, and I finished the song there. And I really like playing it slow too. I still do at home sometimes. But yeah, again, it just it turned into something else in studio, and Matthew Kirkwald played a lot of guitar, played the electrics on that, and just that kind of that baritone, and that it just sounded really good, and it felt like a more upbeat song. And I think I'm actually, of all the songs, each you have different favorites, but that's one of the songs that I'm most happy with, I think, on the album.
Do you have any cool things that you do in your recording space or whatever? If Adam gives everybody a prompt and you make a song together while you're recording this, or anything, like something just in the moment of this time with each other and the levees, I guess?
I think one of the things, going into the studio, with those guys. One of the things I enjoy the most is when we're tracking things out and Adam and Noah and Isaac just play together all at once and record it. It's always just, I usually after those sessions, I walk out to the car and my face hurts from kind of like inadvertently smiling so much. So it's just fun to hear them kind of play on things together. One of the things at John Richardson's drum farm, we recorded a few of the songs there, and going into the control room and going through each song ahead of time acoustically. I think Hard Work was one that, you know, Matt Kirkwald played, sat at a Telecaster unplugged and was just trying some different rhythms, and Noah was, you know, clapping and slapping his knees, and I was singing a cappella, and that was, for me, that was just a really kind of magical, cool moment. And you realize that music is a community, you know, it's just, you know, playing together is a rich experience. And it's feeling that way more and more than I ever have with music. So just even that little, you know, 45 seconds to a minute was one thing that stands out a lot for me. In the songwriting classes that Adam teaches too, I'm somebody that, I actually have a song called One Long Conversation, and it's about, you know, sitting and letting your thoughts develop, you know, not having your one-liners ready all the time. And I'm somebody that has to sit and work with something to really get it right sometimes. But one of the things from the songwriting classes are the prompts that Adam throws out, and gotten a couple of my favorite tunes that I haven't recorded yet that have come out of those writing prompts. So that's you know, forcing yourself to try to do something new, and is a good exercise. A little more like what you were asking about.
I like how so many of the songs pair well. There is a little bit of a story, or at least vignettes that go on, like here, juxtaposed with One Long Conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something that he doesn't talk about in his bio, I don't think. You were like a professional swimmer, weren't you?
Oh.
Like you had,
Oh,
you were gonna be like swimming was gonna be really important to you. I can't remember if it was in college or after college or what, but
Yeah.
there's definitely like an aqua, you know, when you're telling that story about the fishing expedition with your dad, I just started thinking like, this dude's got a thing for water. Why didn't I realize that? The record title, and there's the image on the front, water, and there's water images in the music. So
I'm made of water.
Yes, you
crazy?
are.
No, I swam my first year in college at Butler. I walked on the swimming team. Originally I'd gone there to play tennis, and I ended up playing tennis in college, and then but also swam my first year. But you know, we grew up in Texas and on the beaches, and you know, fishing and swimming, and yeah, it's just I've always been around it. My dad worked in the fueling industry, ships up and down the Intercoastal Waterway, so just always been around shipyards and boatyards, and just the magic of walking into his boss's dad was Captain Fredman, and walking into his office and seeing all the just dark, rich office, as well as nautical equipment. It's just always been a magical thing for me. So.
And now you're starting to look a little bit like Hemingway with the beard, framed by.
That's nice.
There may or may not be a video in the works with me in a pea coat up by Duluth once the ice lets up, with the you know, yeah. So and that would be for how deep, actually. It's something we're working on. Yeah.
I was gonna say Minnesota was a easy transition then, because we drew you in with the water that we have here, or the lakes.
It was, yeah. You know, it took me a couple of years to get up to Duluth. I've been to the Boundary Waters in college a couple times with my brothers, and we flown through Duluth on the way to Ely. But it took me a couple of years to actually get to Duluth and experience it. And you know, sitting there in the morning with coffee, watching the ships come through, come under the bridge. It was, yeah, it was just, you know, really felt like being back in Texas. So, yeah, I love Duluth. I love the Arrowhead, Boundary Waters. Kind of have some involvement and partnership with Friends of the Boundary Waters, and it's been a really supportive group in terms of the music, and it's also, I'm kind of inspired by Adam and Sarah with Dissonance, and just being able to, having that experience in the studio and playing, creating something live together is magical, but it's also to be able to use music or be involved in something where music has an impact for something that you're passionate about. That's next level, and that's pretty fun as well.
It's nice to have a gift to give to something like that many of us don't.
Yeah, it's really, very fortunate.
That's nice. One of the songs that I liked very much was Relate.
Yeah.
I'll ask you a little bit.
Yeah, that's a kind of a coming of age song, right? I think I was trying to figure out how detailed to get here, but I think there were, I was trying to think of with Love 4000, it was a duet, and I like that. I like singing with female voices, and I think it works well with my voice, and I just love that dimension. And originally I thought of that one as a duet, where maybe the woman would sing the girl's coming of age awkwardness part, and then for me, I think there were there was a lot of, I think there were scenarios where I thought I was being chivalrous and polite, and it turns out maybe I was just being disappointing to my date. So
we may have some shared experiences growing up, especially if you wanted to be a priest. I think in some places they kind of hammer that into you.
Yeah, the thought, it wasn't full. I didn't struggle with the priest thing too long, but the thought had crossed my mind, and enough for to be used in a song.
No, I can picture that feeling. You're like,
Also,
torn.
Exactly. That was one too. Just the rhythm of that one. I would love to at some point. I mean, in college. I lived in Costa Rica for a year, and traveled to Peru and Venezuela, and I have a lot of friends in South America, and I do like to dance salsa, merengue. Haven't done a lot of that recently, but in college I did a lot. And so I do like that rhythm. I love flamenco. And so the kind of the hand claps at the end were my just exploring that and having a little fun. And so, yeah, but when I think about like a video for that one, I think about a flamenco dancer kind of adding the rhythm with the feet and dancing to that one. So if you know anybody that is a flamenco dancer.
I just read today there's something happening in St. Paul this weekend, and maybe even outdoors, related to flamenco dancing. I will look it up and tell you about it.
Excellent. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, I used to live in Spain, so I always like watching it. I was never a dancer of that note, but yeah.
Muy bien. ¿Por cuántos años estabas allí?
You know what? I lived in Catalonia, in my defense. They did not speak Spanish.
Catalan.
Awesome.
I understood what, sisplau, that's about,
Awesome.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's
Perfect.
fun to think of how much that experience is related to the music that you play as compared to being in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's an odd mix. I feel like in that kind of trying to find the voice and it's because you want to have a product that, not product, but you want something that people kind of know what to expect, but also want to explore different things. And I think the EP was something where I was kind of trying to find my sound, and I feel like it's starting to come together with Offering. But I should mention the album art for Offering is by a local artist, Luke Hillestead, and it's just he had a waterborne series, and that painting, the symbolism of the ship kind of going off to sea, and the woman kind of ceremoniously burning the incense for good fortune. It kind of made me think of releasing an album and putting that out into the universe and being open to criticism and feedback and all of that. So yeah.
It's one of the things, something that you just said made me think, one of the things I loved about Nights Are Long is, and that was the first song I listened to, and it sounds like there are two songs that start at once. They're two very different sounds at the beginning of that song. And I thought, ooh, this is going to be an interesting album here. It drew me in immediately.
Yeah, I'm glad. The kind of the loop there in the intro was definitely Isaac's doing. Isaac is very attuned to the pop but yeah, it was kind of this noir, sultry, kind of two people unencumbered kind of meeting and then going their separate ways, and I just had that kind of feel to it, and but it also had this tender thing that I hadn't quite been able to pull out yet until Katie Garrity, until she added her vocals, and kind of midway through the chorus, just the way the vocals work together, it kind of added that tinge of sweetness to it. And then one of the things I like about some of the Jeff Buckley songs are the drums on those, and how they can be slow songs, but the drums can still slay, if that makes sense. And watching Noah put down drums on those, it was just, and could tell he was having fun. And then Isaac put a couple of guitar tracks on there, just kind of weaving in and out of one another. And it just, as that was happening, that was originally going to be like a 7 or 8 song on the album, a slow song to kind of break things up. And as it was happening, it just kept going boop, 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 and it just like, I think this is my first song. So yeah, glad you liked it. That's one of my favorites.
It drew me in. It absolutely drew me in. And then I enjoyed the rest of it as well. The songs are very different, but there is a similarity,
Yeah, it's good. I think it's starting to, we'll see. I have visions for the next thing, but I won't get ahead of myself, I promise. But it's hard not to be excited about it when you are around people like Adam and the others here and yourselves. Again, it's this community. It's when you live near something. Let's say you live in Colorado, but let's say you live in Denver, but you never make over to the Flatirons, and it takes you like 10 years to get over the Flatirons, and you hike the Flatirons. You're like, oh my God, why did it take you 10 years to do the Flatiron? I feel similarly about music, and just having taken so much time off and kind of coming back to it. I feel like, not to call you guys like a beautiful mountain range, but I just feel like getting into this, into the community, hopefully as a part of it, just it feels like a site that I overlooked for a long time.
Well, things happen at the right time.
It's true.
You might not have been ready before. And speaking of the right time, tell people about the release and the release party, everything that's happening this weekend.
Yeah, thank you. No, we're just really happy to be hosted by the Ice House on Saturday. Doors open at 5, and music, we start at 8. We'll play first at 8, and then Jason Strites and the Long Odds. I was able to meet them, went over and crashed one of their rehearsals, and we did that fun song about the tickets. I just, again, the community continues to not disappoint. Just the most laid back and cool and chill vibe peeps you can meet, and super friendly. So, and I love the music. Jason's also got a few water themed songs. Pitch Black Portage is one of my favorites of his. So they're going to play after us. We'll play from about 8 to 9:15. Yeah, I can't imagine a better place to kick this off than the Ice House. And the album is available. The full album is available on all the platforms tomorrow morning. And yeah, I miss anything else?
You should put this record out on vinyl, dude. It sounds
Yeah,
really good.
I know vinyl. I would love to. I actually, the artwork, I think I was kind of shooting for vinyl on the artwork. So when the CDs came, I realized I needed, a little too deprecating, I realized I needed cheaters to read my own credits on my own CD. So I think it's going to look better on vinyl. It'll be bigger.
You are doing vinyl.
More legible, yes.
And yeah, I do want to do vinyl, and it's obviously with the supply and the back orders, it might take a few months, but I definitely kind of like nobody puts baby in a corner. I want Luke. Nobody puts Luke Hillstead artwork just on a CD. I definitely want to get that onto vinyl.
That's great. That's great. Well, we are looking forward to the show. I will include this in the notes, but tell folks where they can find you and the album online. Or
Yeah, absolutely. Starting tomorrow, just any digital platform where you listen, and we'll have CDs at the show for those that are CD purists, and some shirts and things, and yeah, so all platforms starting tomorrow. And what was the other question?
online, just what's your website address? Where can they find you online?
Yeah.
For folks who are listening.
So surgeontheswell.com is the website, and also I originally started on Instagram just to post landscape and photography, but it's become a really nice place to interact with fans. So love to connect with people on Instagram.
Nice. Aaron and Adam, Serge and the Swell, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see you.
We are looking forward to the show on Saturday.
Thanks, Ed and Heather. Thanks for having us.